When I moved into my dream home after a painful divorce, I never expected the real battle would begin with the HOA president driving across my lawn. But as her power plays escalated, so did my resolve. This isn't just a story about property lines, it's about justice, community, and a moment of colorful revenge that changed everything. When I bought my first home in Meadow Creek Estates, I wasn't looking for a battle, I was looking for peace. Fresh out of a divorce and burnt out from years in corporate software development, I wanted quiet. The house, a white colonial with navy shutters and a wraparound porch, felt like healing. A soft reset. I planned to work remotely, grow tomatoes, maybe adopt a dog. I was 38, finally on my own terms. And then came Diane Wilson. She was the HOA president, perfect hair, sharp words, ran Meadow Creek like it was her private estate. I figured I'd keep my head down and let her power trip somewhere else. But 2 weeks in, I saw the tire marks. They weren't random. They were deliberate tracks carved right across my freshly reseeded lawn. Deep, muddy. I looked up just in time to see Diane's white Mercedes easing through the far side of my yard, like it was a shortcut she'd taken 1,000 times. I walked out, waved her down, and said, politely, "Excuse me, this is private property." She rolled her window halfway. "This route is more convenient for me. That corner's too tight otherwise." Then she smiled. The kind of smile that says, "Try stopping me." That was the beginning. Over the next month, it kept happening. Every time I fixed the grass, her tires found it again. I sent emails to the HOA. I filed informal complaints. I received vague replies and veiled warnings in return. One even implied that I was in violation of landscaping uniformity rules. I had lived there 32 days. I'm not confrontational, but I am a systems guy. And one thing I know, corruption thrives when no one collects the data. So I started collecting. I installed motion-triggered cameras disguised as garden lights, a pressure mat under the mulch. I even used some open-source image analysis to autolog timestamps when her license plate appeared. Over time, I noticed something worse. She wasn't just driving across my lawn. She was weaponizing the HOA to push out people she didn't like. A neighbor down the street was fined for planting native wildflowers. Another had her backyard chickens cited for unauthorized livestock, even though they were permitted under city code. There was a pattern power masked as policy. That's when I met Michael Hayes, a high school science teacher with a laid-back laugh and a not-so-hidden resentment for Diane. He'd been fined twice for having a rain barrel. We started talking. He introduced me to Samantha, quiet, sharp, and surprisingly, a member of the HOA board. She hated what Diane had done to the neighborhood, but feared retaliation. Still, she started passing along documents, budgets, invoices, meeting minutes. It was a goldmine. Turns out, Diane had been funneling HOA funds into consulting contracts with her brother-in-law's landscaping firm. Over $40,000 unaccounted for in 2 years. All hidden in plain sight. I thought about reporting it, but the board was stacked with her allies. Reporting to them would be burying it. So I waited and planned. I knew one thing: Diane always drove across my lawn during holidays, when streets were packed with guest cars. And with July 4th approaching, I had an idea. With Michael's help, we built a trap. Nothing harmful, just poetic. We dug beneath the turf where she always passed, laid a pressure sensor rigged to a sealed paint canister packed with biodegradable color powder, pink, orange, neon blue, the same kind they use in fun runs. Totally safe, utterly unmissable. Then we waited. On the morning of the 4th, the community buzzed with flags, streamers, lawn chairs. Everyone was out. Diane, as usual, had declared herself Grand Marshal of the HOA's Freedom Stroll. At 10:04 a.m., her white Mercedes rounded the bend. At 10:05 it hit the trigger. A boom of color erupted under her front wheels. Her windshield went purple. Her tires turned fluorescent. The side doors glowed like a sunset gone wrong. She screeched to a halt mid-lawn, got out, and that's when the cameras really started rolling. People laughed. Some clapped. One guy filmed the whole thing with running commentary. And I walked calmly up with a flash drive in hand. "This," I said, "is for the HOA meeting later. You're going to want to prepare." Inside the drive were surveillance clips, financial records from Samantha, and sworn statements from 6 neighbors. We had a case. That night, we called an emergency open meeting. Dozens attended. Samantha stepped up first, nervous but firm. Then Michael laid out the embezzlement trail. I handled the digital forensics. When we played the footage of her Mercedes lighting up in color, even the board members tried to suppress smiles. Diane fumed, accused us of harassment, claimed her route was a community easement. It wasn't. But the mood had turned. By majority vote, she was removed. A new board was formed on the spot, one chosen by secret ballot, not her usual hand-picked clique. In the weeks that followed, Meadow Creek changed. Fences were repainted, not reported. The old bulletin board became a community hub. Not just a finance list, Samantha became president. Michael was in charge of sustainability. As for me, I kept to myself mostly, until one Saturday. A group of kids wandered into my front yard. They pointed at the grass, now fully grown in, and asked, "Is this where the color bomb happened?" I nodded. They laughed and ran through the sprinkler I'd just set up. The yard I once fought over was now a gathering place. We planted native shrubs, added a stone bench. A plaque donated anonymously was placed at the corner. Here stood a lawn that fought back, and won, and Diane. She tried to sue, claimed character defamation, but public opinion had already rendered its verdict. Her house went on the market by fall. It sat unsold until winter. I didn't fight for revenge, I fought for a place that felt like mine, where fairness wasn't optional, where people could trust their neighbors, where code, not just lawn code, mattered. I still code for a living, but now I also garden. And every time I water the roses growing where her tire ruts used to be, I remember some revolutions don't come with noise, just color.